You probably just heard me read your colleague Mark Warner's tweet that came out right away, that we've basically given them a heck of a deal, as he put it, in China to get into our telecom business. What's your reaction?
Well, we have concerns about that. You know, I'm kind of in the school that as you were having this conversation, Marco Rubio and others who've expressed concerns about companies like ZTE getting access to our technology, embedding that technology in our telecommunications devices in this country, stealing our intellectual property and using it in their country. Those are all things that I think this company historically has been guilty of, and I think we have to approach it in a very measured way and a cautious way, because clearly China has intentions on surpassing and replacing the United States as the technological leader in the world, and we certainly shouldn't help them do it.
Now, Secretary of Commerce Wilbur Ross, in announcing this, said, no, we have a lot of safeguards. We're going to have this enforcement mechanism within the company. We're going to have some monitoring of that. Does that satisfy you that we will be protected?
I know that the administration is doing everything they can to kind of get those safeguards and those firewalls in place, but so we're anxious to hear from them about what steps they're taking to protect our country and particularly when it comes to our innovation and our technology. But I also think that we have to be very wary when we're dealing with them, because I don't think in the past, I mean, you have to look at people's records, and this is a company which has violated sanctions in the past. They're not a reputable company, in my view, when it comes to a relationship on an economic or business level that you can really rely upon. So I think it's trust but verify. Clearly, we want to work with the administration and try and promote and develop relationships with China and other countries that are mutually beneficial and that help us actually expand the opportunities that our producers in this country have and our manufacturers to export, but also in a way that takes into consideration what I think are very vital national security priorities.
Senator, but you come from South Dakota, where agriculture is your #1 industry. If the ZTE deal is part of a broader negotiation tactic with China, is it worth it if China agrees to buy more U.S. farm products?
I don't think anything's worth, compromising our national security, for sure. Obviously, it's good news for us when China talks about expanding the purchase of agricultural products. That certainly would have a beneficial impact for states like mine. But, the first and #1 priority when it comes to these negotiations, I think, is to protect America's vital national security interests. And in the cyber world, that now means, of course, all the ways in which China tries to infiltrate and get access to our technology. And I think that's something that we have to pay very, very close attention to, while at the same time negotiating deals that are good for sectors of our economy like agriculture. But like I said, we're going to be trusting, I think, but verifying and hoping that the administration is paying very careful attention to what's at stake here.
We've heard this week that Facebook had data sharing partnerships with 4 Chinese device makers, including Huawei Technologies, which, of course, American intelligence officials have said that they are a national security threat. It's not just Facebook. We also know that Google has these partnerships with Huawei. Does Congress need to do something about ensuring the privacy of Americans, and also ensuring that there are limitations to Chinese firms reaching into American businesses?
And we're looking at that, Shery, right now, and I think there have been discussions among our members, and we're listening to the stakeholder community to try and determine what's the best path forward. And particularly with regard to big social media platforms like Facebook and Google, who we now know have partnerships, contractual relationships with device manufacturers in places like China, like Huawei, that could be detrimental if there's user information that's being exposed. And so we're trying to get those answers. Facebook didn't disclose a lot of that when we had them up here when they testified a few weeks ago, so we've got a letter out to them right now asking for additional information about who those relationships are with, how they're disclosed, how do they ensure that these partners that they have actually are protecting user information. Those are all questions we need to get answered. But to your point, I think we are getting to that time in our nation's history with the just the dramatic increase in user information that's available out there, that we may need some protections and some safeguards, and we're looking at the best way to do that.
Well, and Senator, I really wonder whether the oversight function that you have been pursuing and others is going to be adequate. I've got the text of the letter here. You've written to Mr. Zuckerberg to ask some questions. But as you just pointed out, it's not like Facebook is coming forward and volunteering this information to authorities. This is something that the press has to find. And it seems like every time we turn around, we have some new revelation. What, as a practical matter, has the Congress done following on to those hearings we saw with Mr. Zuckerberg making a lot of promises?
Yeah, and that's a real problem. I don't disagree with you for a minute, because it seems like the only way that they are disclosing information is when there's reporting or some story breaks that forces it to be disclosed, and that's wrong. I mean, I think we did follow up after the hearing with a series of what we call questions for the record, which are written questions. They have not responded yet. We gave them a May 9th deadline. They still haven't hit it, and I understand they got hundreds and perhaps even thousands of questions to answer. Right. But they've got to do better than that. Mm-hmm. And if we're going to do our job as oversight, and if they are really concerned about these issues and helping us do that, then they've got to do a better job.